Hi, welcome back to Two Cells, One Pack.
Today we have an S22 here that we will be installing a set of sliders on. Now if you have an S22, I highly recommend looking into installing a set of sliders in your wheel. Hopefully you're able to source one out and follow along as we install on this one.
Let's start.
These are the tools you'll need to do with S22 slider install. A 3, 4, and 5mm hex, a PH2 screwdriver, and a set of pliers. So we're going to start with removing the seat. Now it's just held on by 2 Phillips screws and allow you to lift it off. Now we'll want to remove the 8 4mm hex bolt. So the next step is now to remove these 2 colored pins. Now keep in mind that these pins can be easy to strip if you're using power tools. So I like to use the 5mm hex L keys in order to pre-loosen them before you hit them with a set of power tools. Now if you look closely between these 2 red pieces, you'll see a silver pin there. Now the idea is to push this pin out to the point where it leaves the red suspension but retains the hold on the lift handle. Now to make it easier, sometimes I like to get the pin spinning a little bit. So now that you see the silver has removed, it means that the suspension collar is free to move. Now we'll do the same on the other side. Tilt the wheel forwards, you'll notice that the suspension is free to come out. And at this point, it's now time to continue working on the motherboard. Now with the motherboard, 6 cables here, and leave the phase wire untouched. Now in this way, you can lift up the trolley handle, which gives you enough room to slide the motherboard down and drain the capacitors. You'll want to lift the wheel up. Sometimes with the nylon sliders, it will get stuck, so I usually clamp the wheel with This one is so stubborn. The older your wheel is, the more stubborn it may be. Oh, freedom. Now that the motor is in this state, we are free to remove these nylon slip sleeves and replace them with sliders. Now each of these vertical pillars are held on by 4 screws. They are all 3mm hex screws, so go ahead and remove them all. When installing your sliders, 2 things to keep in mind. The part where the hole is near the edge, that is the bottom, and then you can see that these posts are offset. So you want the offset side to be closer to the outside of the wheel. So for example, in this case, because it's offset to the left, we're going to put it on the left side. In this scenario, you can see that the post is offset to the right, and therefore this will go on the right side of the wheel. Now, when you buy these bearings, there's a reason why the bearings are not on here yet, and the reason why is the bearings actually cover these screws. So don't get too excited about your new package, and make sure you install the rails first before you put the bearings on. Now this version of the sliders is using the C-clips, which to some people can be quite frustrating to deal with. But just work slowly and you'll be fine. Another thing is if you're not familiar with working with C-clips, it will be probably easier for you to work on your wheel horizontally rather than vertically, so that gravity will keep the C-clip in place. So what I do is I like to place the C-clip there, and then you'll want to get a small set of pliers in order to squeeze the C-clip onto the post. The hardest part is over. The most intense concentration with those C-clips. Now it's time to drop the motor back into the shell. I like to put my controller vertically this way so that when we drop the shell, I can retrieve it back through the trolley handle. Before you drop the wheel all the way, make sure you retrieve your control board. Now these plugs may be a little bit tight, but there is enough slack to be able to pull the cable and plug them in. Don't get worried or shocked by that. Now again, when you're putting these cables, control board into the mounting position, just make sure you push all these cables and connectors into the hole to prevent crimping any of the wires. Just screw them in a couple of threads to make sure that they're all aligned before you tighten them down. Now at this stage, you may be freaking out as to the fact that you forgot to, or I forgot to align the suspension back into the frame. So as you can see, the holes currently do not line up. Since the suspension hole is too far up, what you want to do is lift the wheel forwards until those holes line up perfectly. Until the pin goes through. Now, since we already lined the other side, this side will be a lot easier. You just maybe need to do adjustments to get the pin to come through. We're almost there. The last step, your decorative cover, and then your seat. Okay, so that is the end of the S22 slider install. Now, truly, without any exaggeration, the slider makes such a big difference. Yes, it can be kind of expensive depending on where you get it, but it is totally worth it if you ride an S22.
So that's the end of our video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And you may also turn on your ding dong to receive the notification of our latest content. We'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.